The characters were approved. Model sheets were created, so each animator had a reference for how the characters were to be drawn.
And he's got a fairly big body here, and this is his little red outfit here, little red dress. And the material itself is very delicate, very fragile in a sense. You don't want to make big guffaw laughs with the material. It had to be done very gently and whimsically.
Who are you?
I'm Pooh.
Oh, Pooh. Sure. What's a Pooh?
You're sitting on one.
Winnie the Pooh is very straight. He's like a little child. He's just totally honest and says it just the way it happens, the way children do. They don't have any hidden meanings.
Is anybody at home?
No.
Bother. Isn't there anybody here at all?
Nobody.
Somebody. Because somebody must have said nobody. Happy Wednesday, Piglet.
Piglet's so funny. He's so little. and he's always trying to be such a nice guy and trying to get along, trying not to show that he's scared when he's up in the air, like a kite, you know. That he does get panicky, but it's always still a kind of restrained thing.
Oh, no. Stop! Hello, Rabbit.
Rabbit, he was always frustrated, you know. He was just a worrywart about everything.
Honey? Oh, no!
I'm Tigger. T-I-double-G-R. That spells Tigger.
Tigger, of course, was always kind of fun because he was no cares in the world. He just went out there and he just did whatever he wanted to. And of course, he always got into trouble, and that was fun.
Some bouncing, huh? Say, how did this tree get so high? Hello, Mrs. Kanga, ma'am.
Some of the traits I tried to bring to Kanga and Roo, which was the mother-son relationship, and trying to think of Roo as a 5-year-old boy.
Is your sweater warm enough?
Yes, Mother.
We wanted to have, and Walt wanted to have, one kind of an American character that would also bring in the youngsters in America. And Gopher is a very American animal.
Somebody call for an excavation expert? I'm not in the book, but I'm at your service. Gopher! The name is McCord.
There was an effort to put some comedy in, and that was the Gopher.
First thing to be done is get rid of that bear. He's gumming up the whole project.
It was very much like the Badger in Lady and the Tramp. In fact, it was a real takeoff of it.
We were pleased with him, except that we were very nervous about it, because after all, there are Pooh-ophiles. There are people that really adore Winnie the Pooh, particularly in England, and we didn't want to offend anyone. So Larry Clemens came up with this idea. He said, how about if he pops up out of a gopher hole and he says, I'm not in the book, but I'm at your service. Gopher's the name. I mean, it was just one of those wonderful spontaneous things. And he was absolutely right. I'm not in the book. Double meaning. Not in the phone book, but he's not in the A.A. Milne book either.
Dash it all, he's gone. After all, he's not in the book, you know.
To complement these characters, the overall art design for the film attempted to also keep the feel of Shepard's line-drawn backgrounds as well. Most of these chalk and watercolor concept pieces have never before been seen by the public.
We started using backgrounds on 101 Dalmatians that had painted in flatter areas, but had lines, ink lines, outlining the shapes. I think it was used to advantage on Pooh by just having the outline of the shapes in the background.
The story to be animated is broken down shot by shot in drawings called storyboards. These allow the staff to study the flow of the story and to see where problems might exist.
We had about 2/3 of what we considered a feature in storyboards. We were in development. Some parts of it were actually in animation, some of the early areas. But we were just really thinking in terms of a total animated feature. And one day we had this major meeting with all the people involved in the Winnie the Pooh project, and Walt said, yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to platform this property. we're not just going to put out a feature, because the American public, particularly the children in America, are not familiar with Winnie the Pooh at all. So actually what he did was he sectioned it into 3 sections. And so we were all kind of like surprised and perturbed about it. We said, well, featurette, why? And he says, you'll see. Once we have people aware of the Winnie the Pooh characters, the next time around it'll be much, much bigger. And it'll become classic. It'll become a masterpiece. You watch and see.
Once the story and characters are approved, and before the animation can begin, the dialogue is recorded. Casting the voices for this stuffed menagerie brought out many of Hollywood's most interesting voices.
Walt always wanted this believable business. He wanted to transport the audience to some make-believe place that they could never go themselves. And that's what the right voice does for you.
Oh, bother.
Actor Sterling Holloway, who had provided the voice for the Cheshire Cat in Alice in Wonderland, was cast as Winnie the Pooh.
To be in the same recording studio with Sterling Holloway was a great treat. I mean, the man was a consummate artist. I used to watch the way he performed. He used to underplay his lines. He would do them so softly and so easily.
Hello. Am I glad to see you? It's more friendly with 2.
Sterling Holloway was just, well, I was going to say he was a teddy bear. He was like Pooh. He was the human version of Pooh. And Paul Winchell is just a genius.
Incredible talent, whimsy, timing, all the things that require a personality to bounce out of the screen. Paul Winchell has it. When he gave voice to Tigger, he really did something special.
Hey, this is a cinch.
You come in and you look at all the characters on the wall. You try to see whether you can match some kind of a voice quality to the pictures that you see. I was instructed that Tigger was a very exuberant kind of a character, and that at the same time, he was a very humorous kind of a character. So I tried to put together exuberant, which was a guy who was very excited, all the time, and just with his laugh and everything. The thing that I enjoyed most about the character, I really can't put it into words, but I like Tigger. There's a certain quality that I feel that I became identified with in my own mind, so that instead of just reading the lines, I would always ad-lib. I would always throw in something. Like I threw in one day that, well, TTFN, ta-ta for now.
TTFN, ta-ta for now.
Howard Morris, who was a regular on TV's Your Show of Shows and played Ernest T. Bass on The Andy Griffith Show, provided the voice for Gopher.
The gopher was a character. We decided to give him a funny characteristic, and then he whistles through his teeth.
It certainly is. I'm working the swing shift,
Ralph Wright was one of the story guys, and he had a real keen, deep voice. And we wanted Ralph to do the voice for the donkey, and so we recorded it. So he is the voice of Eeyore.
Thanks. There's not much of a tail, but I'm sort of attached to it.
John Walmsley, who starred as Jason on The Waltons, was one of 3 actors who provided the voice for Christopher Robin.
I was 12, actually 11 when I did Christopher Robin. And the character was basically me. Christopher Robin is a little English boy, and I was a little English boy. So I was basically playing myself at the time.
Hello, Christopher Robin.
Ooh, thank goodness you're safe.
Sebastian Cabot, who was familiar to American TV audiences as Mr. French on A Family Affair, was cast as the narrator.
Now, honey rhymes with bunny, and bunny rhymes with, rabbit.
Other voices included character actor John Fiedler as Piglet,
Oh, for a bear of very little brain, you sure are a smart one.
and multi-talented Hal Smith, who played Otis on The Andy Griffith Show, provided the voice for Owl.
Someone has pasted Piglet on my window. Well, who too?
After the dialogue was recorded, the animators could begin the task of bringing the characters to life. Once the pencil animation was approved, the drawings were traced onto clear celluloids and painted. These were photographed against the hand-painted backgrounds, one frame at a time, to create the final footage. Here is a reconstruction of Tigger's song, tracing the evolution from storyboard through pencil animation to the final color footage.
The wonderful thing about Tigger's, it's a wonderful thing. The tops are made of the rubber, the bottoms are made of the string. The bouncy, flouncy, flouncy, pouncy, and fun. The most wonderful thing about Tigger's is I'm the only one. I'm the only one. The wonderful thing about Tigger's, it's a wonderful thing. The tops are made of the rubber, the bottoms are made of the string. The bouncy, flouncy, flouncy, pouncy, and fun. The most wonderful thing about Tigger's is I'm the only one. I'm the only one.
Buddy Baker wrote, arranged, and conducted the musical score to complement the songs written by the Sherman Brothers.